You want to say, come here.
No, I can't follow that.
You
I'm
can
not gonna
follow.
that, no.
You're going to follow.
No.
You can say anything you want. She was petrified to come up here because this is not what she does. She is the most outspoken person in the world, but not in front of a lot of people. In the house. Whoa, boy. Wow. Oh, my God.
Was that always the original ending?
No. The original ending, and I'm completely honest, I made this movie because I had been married, and then I was single for 10 years. I'm making a mess out of my dating life. I'm in and out of relationships. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And that became the basis for When Harry Met Sally. So at the end, the original ending we had was that they didn't get together because I didn't know how that was ever going to happen. And so at the end of the movie, we had it where they run into each other in the street, they talk, and then they walk in opposite directions. The camera pulls up. And then I meet the woman who I've now been married to for 36 years, Michelle, and we fall in love during the making of the movie.
Really?
Yes. And so I changed the ending.
We have our daughter here, Romy Reiner. Stand up. She'll attest to that. Romy Reiner. Outspoken, right, Romy? Outspoken? Absolutely. Yeah, and thank God she is outspoken because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without her.
That's right.
Yes, that's... See, there you go.
So that they get back together.
When you realize that you want to spend the rest of your life with someone, you want the rest of your life to start right now.
To start as soon as possible.
As soon as
That's
possible.
Right.
Children's issues, all the work we've done, on Proposition 8, we wouldn't have done it without Michelle. She's the one, she basically stands behind me and kicks me in the ass all the time. Why don't you do something? You're a celebrity. You can talk. Get out there and do something. So I listen to what she says.
And that's a line that Billy Crystal wrote that. He wrote that whole little last speech. And yes, I mean, I said, okay, I get it. I see how it could work. And so we changed the ending. We have Billy running in and professing his love right at New Year's Eve.
The relationship between Nick Reiner and his mother, Michelle Singer Reiner, was shaped by years of love, worry, and emotional strain, an experience familiar to many families dealing with long-term mental health and addiction challenges. Those close to the family have consistently described Michelle not as distant or harsh, but as a deeply involved mother who spent years trying to protect her son while also struggling with the limits of what she could do for him. Over time, that tension between care and control, hope and exhaustion became a defining feature of their bond.
Rob and Michelle Reiner are some of the most decent, courageous people you ever want to know. What they have always been are passionate people in a time when there's not a lot of courage going on. They were the kind of people who were ready to put their actions behind what they cared about. And they cared about their family, and they cared about this country, and they cared about fairness and equity. And that is the truth. I do know them.
One of the clearest sources of strain was Nick's long-running struggle with substance abuse, which reportedly began in his teenage years. Like many parents in similar situations, Michelle moved quickly into crisis management mode. Family accounts and interviews suggest she took an active role in arranging treatment, monitoring progress, and intervening when Nick relapsed. While this came from concern, it also created friction. Adults battling addiction often feel monitored or mistrusted, even when help is offered with love. According to people familiar with the family, Nick sometimes reacted defensively to what he perceived as constant supervision, leading to arguments and emotional distance between him and his mother.
Well, Netta, I just, first of all, just want to start by saying I'm so sorry for your loss.
But what's really important is that I really want people to know that Michelle and Rob honestly were two of the most kindest individual human beings that ever walked on this planet. They have always made you feel one with them. They are so kind. They are so giving. She deserves this recognition because we always laugh, she's always Rob's wife, but I told her, I was like, one day I'm going to tell everybody, hoping that it was going to surprise her for like her 80th birthday, and I was going to make her, just embarrass her. So that's what we're kind of doing right now. I just want everyone to know about her too.
Another example of strain came from repeated rehabilitation efforts. Nick reportedly entered multiple treatment programs over the years. Each attempt carried hope, and each relapse brought disappointment and fear. Michelle, by many accounts, remained persistent, encouraging structure, routines, and professional oversight. But repeated cycles of recovery and relapse can quietly erode trust on both sides. For a parent, it raises painful questions. Am I helping or am I enabling? For a child, it can feel like failure is expected. Insiders have said that during these periods, communication between Nick and Michelle often became tense, with conversations revolving around rules, expectations, and concern rather than ease or warmth. The strain deepened as mental health issues became more prominent alongside addiction. Reports indicate that Nick faced periods where his thinking and behavior were unstable enough to alarm those closest to him. Michelle was said to be particularly worried during these times, increasingly focused on safety and structure. In families facing severe mental illness, parents sometimes shift from emotional support into a more managerial role, setting boundaries, enforcing treatment, or seeking legal protections. While these actions are meant to help, they can feel controlling to the person on the receiving end.
So the Rob Reiner tragedy has reminded me of something that I already know to be true, which is that if you feel something, if you feel alarmed by something and something makes you uncomfortable and you think of the unfathomable, like what if this person ever did this? Have you ever had that feeling? Like have you ever had that thought? It could be in a breakup, a divorce, it could be with your kid. If your kid ever like bit somebody or something, that's like, what if every situation like this is someone's child?
Friends of the family have suggested this dynamic contributed to resentment on Nick's side, even as Michelle believed she was acting out of necessity. A particularly telling example of the complicated bonds between mother and son was the family's decision to be publicly open about addiction, most notably through the semi-autobiographical film Being Charlie. The project was co-written by Nick and directed by his father, but it reflected real family pain, including parental frustration and fear. While the film initially brought moments of understanding, it also revealed how exposed and raw their private struggles had become. Some observers believe that turning personal pain into a public narrative may have added pressure to Nick, while Michelle, described as more private, reportedly worried about how much of their family life was being lived in the open. There were also reports of arguments in the months leading up to the tragedy, described not as sudden explosions, but as the continuation of long-standing disagreements. These reportedly centered on Nick's independence, living situation, and compliance with treatment. Michelle was said to be increasingly concerned about his stability, while Nick appeared frustrated by what he saw as constant scrutiny. This pattern, one person feeling unsafe, the other feeling trapped, is common in families navigating chronic mental illness and often leads to emotional fatigue on both sides.
We had it was kind of like the odd couple, I'm always late, she's 20 minutes early, She's taught me a lot about like respecting people's time, and she taught me a lot about my own self-worth, and she really did demand respect. She was a very, very, very honest human being. What you saw with her is true honesty. Like she was just the most giving human. Maybe a little bit rough on the outside, but really soft on the inside.
Despite all this, what stands out most is that estrangement never fully happened. Michelle did not cut Nick off. People close to the family have emphasized that she continued to check on him, advocate for him, and worry about him, even when their relationship was strained. Her concern reportedly intensified rather than faded, suggesting that fear, not rejection, was at the core of their conflict. This is important because strained relationships are often misunderstood as loveless ones. In this case, the strain appears to have come precisely because Michelle cared deeply and felt responsible for keeping her son safe.
Day and night with Rob Reiner and his wife. I was in Malibu at a party. There's this one long strip where you'll kind of know different people at different houses. And I went to take a beach walk, and Rob's wife saw me outside and was like, come in, because they had a bunch of people over. And we ended up spending the day there, hanging out with her and her husband, and we had dinner. What a memory. Just from time to time, I've thought of like that unusual day where we were walking down the beach and a TV legend invited me into his home. And it's really sad. To say the least. It's super tragic, and life is so precious.
Those who knew Michelle describe her as emotionally invested, protective, and increasingly anxious as years went on. That anxiety, while understandable, likely shaped the tone of her interactions with Nick. Over time, conversations that once included affection and encouragement may have become dominated by caution, warnings, and planning for worst-case scenarios. For Nick, this may have reinforced a feeling of being seen primarily as a problem to manage rather than a person to trust. In the end, the relationship between Nick and Michelle Reiner reflects a painful reality many families face.